All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's exciting, action-packed live internet broadcast. My name is Tim Kachuriak, and I am broadcasting to you live from Dallas, Texas. And I'm joined by my partner in crime, Jon Powell, who I'll introduce in just a little bit. But before we get started, Jon, we've got a couple quick announcements. This webinar is actually part of the Next After Online Training Institute, shall we say. And we've got a number of different online courses that we have developed. We have a online fundraising certification course in email fundraising, in donation and landing page optimization, and in turning Facebook likes into donors. You can learn more all about all that great training at nextafter.com/training. And if you weren't able to join us this past September for the Nonprofit Innovation Optimization Summit, good news is we're coming to Denver. So that's right, NEO 2019 will be in Denver, Colorado. It's an action-packed 2 days. We've got over 16 speakers. We'll have over 500 fundraisers and marketers from really around the world joining us. So it'll be a really great time. We'll also host a pre-summit certification workshop. So if you're interested in learning and going really deep into one of these topics, you'll be able to join us and participate in that as well. You can learn more and get your tickets early at niosummit.com. And on niosummit.com, you can actually also go and look at the videos from 2016, 2017, and 2018. Now, before we go any further, there's always a couple questions that come up about today's broadcast. The first question is always, are we going to be providing a recording? The answer to that question is yes. We will have a recording of this video broadcast that will be available after the completion of today's presentation. We'll also send out links to all of the different resources and case studies and experiments that we cover in today's broadcast. And a few other quick things of note. We will like to turn this not just into a dialogue or monologue or dialogue between the two of us. We want this to be a conversation. So we would really love to receive your questions. We've reserved time at the end of today's broadcast to take your questions and interact with you. Now, if you want to make a question, you can go right into the interface where you're viewing the webcast, and there's a little chat window. Just feel free to type in your questions in there, and you can also interact with some of the other folks that are on the broadcast. So at this point, I want to introduce to you our speaker for today. So many of you know Jon Powell, who's our Senior Director of Research and Education. And I've recently learned that Jon has an incredible middle name. That's right. His name is Jon Blazin Powell. And Jon is going to be blazing some pretty exciting new trails when it comes to year-end fundraising. So Jon.
Blazin optimization.
You ready to rock and roll?
Ready to rock and roll. Thank you, Mr. Tim. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you've tuned in. What I'd like to do is really give you guys something that you can use to get started or to start tweaking your year-end campaigns that you're working on right now or that you're just finishing up right now and getting ready to implement, specifically for online, okay? By the time you're finished with this particular session, you're going to have 4 key, well, I'm calling them linchpins, okay? They're the things that are almost kind of required for you to raise the most money during the calendar year end. So stay tuned throughout the whole session. You're going to get the principles you need so you can start actually getting the most out of all the effort that you generally always have to put in at this time of year. So, you've guessed it. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and I'm not going to sing the song. It's okay. That didn't really work for me. The question is why? Why is it the most wonderful time of year? Is it because of Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, right? Is it because of any one of those things? Well, yes, but not entirely, okay? What do you mean by that, Jon? Well, we've got to face the facts, folks, especially for those who love to celebrate these particular holidays, is that though 90% of Americans, because, when we, for those of you that are reaching out to folks, your lists are in America, very generous nation, right? 9 out of 10 say that they celebrate Christmas, but only 46%, at least when the time with this study was done, only 46% say they celebrate it as primarily a religious rather than cultural holiday. And the holiday itself, if we're talking about Christmas or even Hanukkah, there's the giving of gifts. It's about generosity. It's about, celebrating, particular figures, particular events, right? Those are part of it, but does the fact that they don't celebrate those things, does that translate into a lack of spending, right? Is it the fact that people are focusing less on the reason for the season, as they call it, whichever one of these you are, and just more on the culture? Does that translate into a lack of spending? Nope, it doesn't. Look at that spending's going up, 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 up. That's 2017 right there, 2015, okay? You can see where I got the data. It's the season of generosity, my friends. 'Tis the season, right? And the for-profit world totally gets it, okay? They totally get it. Now, here's the thing. Retailers understand this. They understand that they are the tools of generosity for their buyers. Think about it. They offer their buyers the ability to do good through deals, gifts that have been given to family, peers, whoever else that they value, okay, as part of celebrating this time of year, this, whatever cultural stuff that they want to celebrate. In fact, it's so important to the retailers that they will plan for it up to 6 months in advance. That's how important. In fact, my father was a custom jeweler, and I remember the first year that he went into business, okay, back when I was really small, my mom told me that if he had a bad Christmas, if he didn't sell enough, then he would go out of business. So we planned and planned and planned and did everything to make sure that he could do his very best, okay? So my question is are you taking this season as seriously as those are in the for-profit world? And you're thinking, well, no. John, listen, that's them. That's them. That's not us. Really? Are you sure about that? Okay, stay with me here. We have a lot of Google Analytics data, for a lot of different organizations. And as part of our investigation into year-end every year, we like to go in and take a look at when giving actually occurs, how it's occurring. We want to understand generosity so we can crack the code, right? Well, and for this calendar year in Benchmark, we have 17 not-for-profit organizations. You can see the different categories here, representing almost about $90 million in total revenue. And then of course, all of this is from analytics. So what did we learn? Well, what we learned is that on average, total annual online giving that occurs in the month of December is around 31%. That is a huge chunk for just 1 month of the year. Okay, that is a huge chunk, and that's average. For some organizations, it's a lot more. Some organizations maybe a little less, but for the most part, those organizations that we're taking a look at the actual data, it's that last month commands a lot of giving. Okay, all right. Here's all the different organizations that we surveyed. As you can see, some are way above, and some are tracking right in that 20 to 30% range. A lot of them with one outlier down here. But as you can see, that's the average, and it's probably the same for your organization. If you've looked at the data, you may already know this. If you haven't done anything on year end yet, you really haven't gotten into it, there may be a lot of opportunity that you're missing, okay? And so what we like to do, we like to go down these little rabbit holes, right? And so we start look at all this different data. Are you guys seeing a pattern? Is anybody here seeing a pattern on the screen? I'm kind of seeing a pattern. It's like, burp, burp, burp. Do you guys understand that? We're actually looking at from November 15 all the way to the 31st. Look at where all that data's at. Take a look. There's a pattern. And things that we noticed is that 46% of that calendar year-end revenue, okay, of that big chunk, nearly half of it comes after the 25th of December. Wow. Okay, talk about like Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl for nonprofits, right? It's just that last week, okay? In fact, if you look at last year's numbers, this is right about on track of what we had last year in 2016, which is about 48.7% is the average. And as you can see, there's an outlier here and there's an outlier here, right? And on top of that 46%, 16.1% of calendar year end is coming in on New Year's Eve. So it's pretty straightforward, right? And if you take a look at 2016, this is tracking right around the same amount, okay? It's definitely tracking right around the same amount. So in this season of generosity, Retailers are empowering people to give generously to others. They are the ones empowering these consumers to do it. We are also empowering them too. Except the difference here, the only difference, is the recipient, right? And the recipients, okay, the ones that we're fighting for, the ones that we're trying to vouch for, okay? If you're a conservationist, right, whether it's for animals, protecting the animals, or whether it's for the forest, or if you're, again, save the children, or whoever it is that you're serving, or whatever it is that you're serving, that is the recipient, okay? Now the question is this: how do we make sure that our recipients don't get left off the generosity list? How do we make sure? Okay? Well, one of the things that I like to do is I like to see how we're doing that, right? One of the wonderful things that we have is we have this, we call it a simulated donor inbox. Over 150 some largest nonprofit organizations, 15,000 plus unique emails. Listen, just for the last year alone, the 2017 year end, I think I personally reviewed over 6,000 email appeals. You want to know what I typically see? Here's how we, as nonprofits, generally try to make sure we're on the generosity list, right? Starts off a little bit like this. Double the goats. Give double the hope with double goats. Yes, please double my goats. This is a real screenshot from a real email. I pulled it right out of that inbox. And yes, it really is flashing like that, okay? So that's probably one of the things that we see in Givingtuesday, early December. And of course, mid-December comes and it's every animal tripled, but only before midnight, okay? That's real. I'm not kidding you. I pulled this from an email. And then finally, there's no wonder why so many people give on the 31st, right? It's probably because that's when we got these crazy matches. Okay, 10 times the goats. For every goat that you give, we'll give 9. All right, and if you think that I'm making this up, okay, there's the email. Okay, so listen, there's got to be more to this, right? There's got to be more than year end than just finding a crazy match or challenge or incentive and just throwing it out there and saying give, 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 give. Okay? Now, I'm not saying matches don't work. I'm not saying these don't work. What I'm saying is that that's not the entire thing. Okay? That's not the entire thing that you've got, right? So one of the things that we did is, we've got a lot of these year-end A/B tests that we've run, which is great because that actually shows us what's working and what's not. We've got a team that's been running, they've been running, stem to stern, right? Everything, year-end campaigns for large nonprofit organizations. And of course, we've got the simulated donor inbox. And what we want to do is we want to use all of this data to help you understand what you need to do to make sure that you get on the donors' generosity list this year without having to rely completely on some wacky incentive campaign. Again, incentives are there. They're part of it, but they're not all of it, and I'm going to get into that. Okay? So let's go ahead and get started. Okay? Of course, I want to help you achieve big results. Yep. So for smaller organizations, these types of approaches have done great, wonderful things. Even for larger organizations, there's still, you can see anywhere from 15, 26, 61, et cetera, different types of organizations. You expect that, right? So let's go ahead and actually get into the content. So wait a minute. What do we mean by year end? Let's define that for a minute, okay? Calendar year end at least. We mean the time from November 15, it could be maybe even a week before, November 15 to December 31. Sometimes people start at November 1. But definitely by the November 15 timeframe, any communication that directly asks or is meant to influence and ask for donations aligned with this season. Okay, that's what we're defining as calendar year end. That way, if there's any confusion, you don't have any confusion. Okay, these are the campaigns that we're talking about. Okay, so back to the question: how do we make sure that the people that we're serving, or the animals, or just the cause that we're serving, that we're passionate about, the reason why we exist? How do we make sure that they don't get left off the generosity list? Well, 4 things. Remember, I promised you 4 things. Here's the first one, okay? The first one is this. You have to be like a friend or family member to the donor. That's who people give gifts to. That's who people remember on their list, okay? So if you think that what does it mean to be a family or friend? right? Generally means does somebody just walk up to you and ask for money? I mean, you might give them something out of maybe just compassion, but maybe not nearly as much as if it were a friend or family member. And if it's a friend or family member, you've known them for a while. You have some kind of a relationship. So in that case, year end is like, harvesting, right? People give gifts to those they know and trust, and they give to organizations that they know and trust, right? So year end is really about harvesting. It's about, all the effort, all the cultivation, all the communication, everything that you've done up to this point. This is kind of like a harvesting time. And you have to think of it that way. If you think that year end can just save you after doing nothing all year, I'm sorry, you're going to be disappointed, right? And that was told to me by everybody that's worked on this for years. All of our team members, everybody that I interviewed, they're like, listen, it's not your way out, okay? However, okay, and I'll give you the however in a second. The reason why it's not a way out is if, in the spirit of the season, right, you can't microwave a turkey, or I guess you could try, but it's not going to come out right. It takes time, it takes work, okay? Just like relationships take time, they take work, all right? You have to think of your donor relationships in that way. But if you have messed up, or maybe you feel a little regret, maybe you haven't been communicating as much as you should have, or maybe you're thinking, well, I don't know if I did a really good job. Is there still something that I can do? And I'm going to say yes. There's absolutely something that you can still do that will help build a relationship rapidly, okay? And let me show you what that is. I call it the free offer donation page. Or if you've been taking our online courses or following us, the instant donation page. Let me help you understand how it works, okay? So this is the kind of thing that you're used to seeing in year end. Donate now email to donation page. And you know what? That's going to work for those people that know you, they trust you, they have some sort of relationship with you, they've been on your list for a while. But the people that are brand new, that don't really have much information, or maybe you just haven't been talking with them, that might not work. So in addition to this, you could do this. You've got a free offer email, and then a free offer opt-in page, and then your confirmation page, the thing they opt in, has a donation form on the bottom of it. We call that an instant donation page. So here's what it means. Let me just give you an example. So if you were like, let's just say you are like an organization that is like really in sync with Christmas, like maybe like a Christian organization, a ministry, okay? Your free offer might be a special year-end devotional, okay? It's free. It kind of demonstrates your values as the organization, right? Okay, and it helps them to engage in the season more. If you're like an animal rights organization, it might be a petition, okay, to politicians to protect like a specific thing during that time. Something that you can do on behalf of somebody, make their voice be heard, right? Either way, it's not a donation ask. It's a way for you to demonstrate the value your organization has, okay, in fighting for those that need to be fought for, okay, or standing up for the cause, right? But what's really important, okay, is a little side quest for you, okay, a little side quest. You cannot leave out this opt-in page, okay? I'm gonna tell you later, okay, how you can get the answer and why this is so important. You cannot leave this page out. You cannot just go straight to this page and say, hey, here's your free thing, donate, okay? There's a reason for that, all right? And little side note, the first person that emails me to tell me who this character is from what game that is, I'll give you free 30 minutes of evaluating your page one-on-one, all right? Just for fun, all right? Little fun little side game, okay? So you've got my email, Jon@NextStaffer, little game for you. So here's my point. Even if your online year-end campaigns are on par, this is a must-add tactic, right? So instead of just making donation asks, you're delivering value. Not only does that help your later donation asks, but you can make a donation ask immediately after you deliver that value, even if they haven't consumed that, what's just called a devotional or whatever it is that you do, okay? Even if they haven't consumed it, they will most likely give a gift because of reciprocity, or at least a small portion will, okay? So that's the first thing that I'm going to emphasize. You need to be like a friend or family member, and if you don't have that relationship, you can start rapidly building that by showing them immediate value, by demonstrating what it is that you do that makes you so special and awesome, okay? Second thing is you need to be top of mind, okay? This is the second of the four things. question that I have for you is this. Do you always give to every single friend and every single family member every single year? Or do you sometimes maybe let somebody slip here and there? You're like, money's kind of low this year, so how do you make that decision on who you give to this year and who you don't? Saying that they've all been friends at some point. The way you make that decision, the way we are wired to make that decision, is this. We are predispositioned to give to people that are present in our lives. So if you have a friend that was a teacher, but you haven't seen them in 3 or 4 years, you might not feel the need to give them a gift because you haven't seen them, you haven't heard from them, you haven't experienced them, out of sight, out of mind. It's a sad reality. Same thing is going to happen to you. If you were out of sight, if you were out of mind, if you were not present, you just kick some of your chances down the drain, okay? But wait. What about all this? Everybody's emailing, they're emailing. You know, we will receive probably an average of 412 or more commercial emails just in the month of December. All right, and you can look up that stat and debate that with them. Point is you're going to get a lot of emails and you're going to get a lot of retailers asking you to buy. Okay, and there's going to be other organizations asking you to give. Okay, well, here's the thing. We've discovered that being top of mind online means finding a way to cut through the email clutter, okay? Because we can't just block all of those emails out. We've got to find a way to stand out, okay? So a few ways to stand out. The first way we've discovered is that to actually send more emails, okay? Now whoa, don't worry, okay? Let me show you a couple pieces of data, okay? So remember that aggregate donor inbox we've been tracking since 2014? One of the things we do every year is we take a look at how many emails organizations are sending on average of the organizations that we're tracking. And what we discovered, of all the total emails served in December, is that 4.5% of the organizations are sending 0 emails, the ones that we opted in for and all of that. Okay, 17% sent more than 10, and on average, most organizations are sending 6. But there's this nice little sweet spot above 6 that not really many people are really filling, and that's what I'm going to recommend that you do. I'm not saying send a junk load more of emails, but I'm saying send just a few more to stand out, okay? Because you're just getting present, all right? Now, did I really just say send more, okay? I know some of you are like, John, wait a minute, I cannot get my head wrapped. More? You're telling me to send like 8 emails, 10 emails? Well, again, if you stay tuned, I'm going to tell you where you can find the answer to that question and why you should really consider that, because there's more than just these data points to kind of support making that case, okay? So, second thing to stay on top of mind online is that you need to send emails when others aren't. Well, that's kind of logical and obvious, right? Well, when is everybody sending emails? Well, great news. We've got that aggregate donor inbox and we're tracking. And what we're finding is, Tuesday through Friday, 7 a.m. to noon, that's wherever. So your email might get lost in the fray. Just saying, okay? But when are other folks not sending emails? Well, early morning, afternoon, and evening are a little bit less crowded. And weekends, there seems to be a little opportunity in the weekend. Now, of course, the 31st happened to fall on the weekend these last couple of years, and I know that's hurt giving for some folks. We were seeing that, all right, on those particular days. But take a look at all these other weekends. That's a prime time to stand out, okay? Especially if people are checking their phones, whatnot. So I would encourage you to think about that as another opportunity to stick out of the crowd when you're sending your emails. Another little interesting tidbit is that we found, take this with a grain of salt, is up to a 50% higher average gift potentially for those that we tracked on the weekends. Okay, for those organizations that we're tracking, the average gift seems to be a little bit higher. So again, just something to keep in mind. Another little bit of encouragement to try and stand out of the crowd. There may be a little bit more reward there. And there's one other small thing, okay? Let's talk about Giving Tuesday. Hashtag Giving Tuesday, right? We track that only 2.9% of calendar year revenue comes in on Giving Tuesday. And you know what? That is down from last year, okay? 3.8% on average. You've got some outliers that are up to 10 or 11%. That's still nowhere near 30%, 40%, okay? Some organizations are even lower than that, Okay, and this was, again, this is 2016 data. Even the latest data is showing less. Okay, and yet on the last day of the year, there's a 790% average percent additional revenue generated. Okay, but here's the funny thing. Here's the interesting thing. 29% more emails are received on Giving Tuesday than the last day of December, even though a significantly smaller amount of revenue, okay? Makes me kind of think, like, should we really be focusing on Giving Tuesday this much? I mean, really? Now, let me clarify something. I'm not saying don't do Giving Tuesday, all right? If you have time, you need to make time for it. You need to participate like everybody else. But what I am saying is that you better be working on your last week of the year and your last day of the year emails before you're working on those Giving Tuesday emails. Okay, you got to make sure you got a plan for that. Okay, don't do Giving Tuesday without making sure you are ready for those days. Okay, that's Super Bowl week. Don't be left out. Last thing, we need to start the season when others are starting the season. When did I say the season starts? Early, mid-November? What's that one major holiday, at least in the US? I know in Canada it's like October, okay? But in the US, there's this one major holiday, okay, where a lot of our donors are in the US, right? For a lot of organizations, okay? It's Thanksgiving. Many of you may have seen this case study before. It'll be a good refresher, all right? Here's a nonprofit that wondered if a strategy of online cultivation for offline could be reversed. So here's what they did. It was leading up to the calendar year end. They had a technology that would allow them to send personalized postcards to their list, to their donors at a reasonably efficient price point, okay? So they're thinking, okay, if we send a little bit of direct mail, pay a little money, just a little bit, could it significantly increase online giving? Like significantly to a point where not only does it pay for the cost, but you know, on a multiplier level. And this is what they did. So they had the card's name, a Thanksgiving message for you, John, okay? And then on the back of that card, there was a watch your video. Hi, John, as I reflect. It's totally about video, 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 no donation ask, completely about thanks. The result, significant increase not just in donations, but in average gift. So did it pay for itself? Absolutely. Multiple times fold. I don't know if it was 10x or 5x or whatnot, but I do know that it was significant. And listen, you don't have to do this. You can just simply send an email, okay? But the point is that you need to start when they start. When are people starting to shop? I heard that people are already shopping now for their Christmas presents or for their Hanukkah present, whatever it is. They're shopping for their year end already. So you need to be starting when they're starting, okay? Third point out of the four, okay? The third out of the fourth thing that you need to make sure you're raising the most money, okay? You need to offer more than just a match. I get it. Matches are like table stakes, you know, and all the 6,000 some email appeals. I mean, matches were one of the dominating themes, okay? One of the dominating elements. But listen, you can't just rely completely on the match, okay? So you're like, okay, yeah, so just throw in some incentives too, right? No, thank you. Wrong answer, okay? Let me tell you, there are 3 whys of an effective appeal that we have to answer in the mind of the donor. And one of those whys is answered with a match. But there are 2 other whys that we still have to answer, okay? And the reason why your matches are doing okay still is because these 2 whys might already be answered in the mind of those donors. But for those that haven't answered the first one and the second one, well, you may be losing. Let's take a look at the first why. Why care? Why should I, donor, care about you, organization, or about this email that you're sending me? Why should I care? Okay? And we answer these questions, right, with things related to them, okay? This is about relevance. Are your emails relevant to something that's relevant to them or important or interesting to them in their lives, okay? Some of the categories of interest, you know, external categories, so a lot of rain, a lot of snow, a lot of something, okay? Maybe a recent event that happened during that time, a recent action, or in this case in year end, it could be a reflection, okay? It could be a reflection of really significant events that have happened in the last year, okay? Internal relevance, when you start segmenting, you might have groups of people on your list with certain interests, certain personality types, communication styles. The point is that you cater the email, right? So that they feel like it was a little bit more made for them. So let me show you an example. This was February 1 of 2011. in Dallas, I believe, and Tim received a number of emails in this day, but one of these emails he received was this one. This is an actual pitch from a for-profit company, but look at how it started. Burr, did you make it to work today? I did after an icy 2-hour commute. That captured him right away, guys. Right away, okay? 2/1/2011, 3:03 p.m., and then it goes right into their pitch. This is literally a sentence or two, and then it goes right into the pitch. But listen, that caught Tim's attention so much that he had to save it, and he insists that we've got to, this is a great example. And you know what? He's right, okay? Because on the same day, he received this email. No joke. Summer is right around the corner. Offer, you know it's real. Look at when the offer expires. He didn't make this up. Seriously, which one of these emails is going to kind of capture somebody and move them into the conversation? Which one is going to absolutely disgust them or make them mad or make them be like, what? Does this make sense? This is how you answer the question of why care. It's all about what's relevant, what's timely, what's interesting to them. How does what you're asking for or doing relate to that? And you know what? I tested this too. For those of you in Texas that received an email from me, apparently in Dallas it was raining, 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 flooding, flooding, flooding. I started the email with one line, I hope your day is going swimmingly. You know how many people responded to me personally? A little shout out the lawn. Really, John? Swimmingly? Right? Perhaps that was the reason. Yes, it absolutely was the reason for my choice of words. People noticed and they replied back to me. Okay? Listen, this is your opportunity to do something like this. This is, and I've got some great ideas for you on how to do this. Okay? And I'm going to tell you where to get those ideas by the end of this session. So this is what relevance is. Okay? Just to show you those categories again, right? That's how we answer the question of why should I, the donor, care about your email? Next. Why should I care about you, organization? Why should I give to you? Okay? We've got to answer that second question, right? And it really comes down to this. If I'm your ideal donor, why should I give to you rather than some other organization or not at all? And believe me, I know we're not trying to compete, but honestly, we're competing because we're being compared. You know, somebody has a heart to give, they only have so much money to give, and there's 3 or 4 organizations that they know and trust asking for money. How do you capture the most of that generosity? Why is it that you are the most worthy cause? And sometimes they might give all their money to one rather than the other. Okay, the answer to this question here is going to help them make a really solid decision for themselves that they're not going to regret, right? As I like to say, if I have a chance to put my response to this question in an email and they still choose not to give, I'm okay with that because then it's right. You need to make sure that you take the opportunity to give them that reason, okay? And what it's really asking, they're asking, how does my donation make a difference, right? That's kind of how you answer that question. One of the things, if you've been following our courses and you've been following Brady, you'll know he likes to go to this wonderful book, To the Science, right? The Science of Giving. This is something that he uses to teach at the academic level, teach fundraising at the academic level. Some wonderful clinical psychology in here. In fact, I'm going to pull up one case study out of this. And they ran an experiment back in 2010. One group of donors read about an organization that was inherently tangible, and the other was inherently intangible, right? And here's how we define those two. Which one received more donations? Well, donors gave almost 3 times to the more tangible charity than the intangible one. So we have to find a way to answer that question, and we often can do that by helping donors understand what it is that we do in a tangible format, okay? And again, I've got a lot of great ideas for you that I want to share with you. I'm going to show you how to get them. And now we go to the final 3 whys of the whys of appeal, and that's the why now, okay? The why now. And this is where you have your matches, your challenges, okay? Back to the science, all right? Here we've got Science Magazine. They ran a little study, or published a little study, and as you can see, the control was none of these extra things, but whenever there was a seed money or a match or some overhead covering where they knew their donations were going 100% to the cause, right? All of these produced statistically significantly more donations than not having one at all. So that's why I say don't leave your match on the table. I've seen organizations actually increase their year end without using a match, but it's taken a lot of optimization, all right? Listen, If you have one, use it. But don't just rely on it. You need to make sure these other two elements are part of it, okay? You need to make sure. That's why I say the match is only 1/3 of what makes a powerful year-end appeal. So don't just rely on it. Try to answer those other two questions. And again, I'm going to give you some great ideas if you stick with me. Now for the fourth thing, the fourth and final thing, to make sure you're raising the most money at year-end is this. You need to lead somebody all the way through to the completed donation. If they on the email and they click on the email that they're going to donate, I promise you, you're going to lose half of them if you don't do something or continue that conversation. For example, here's an experiment, number 2909. This organization was sending all year-end campaign-focused traffic to a single donation page, okay, through their emails, and they wanted to know if they could get more people to give by making some tweaks on that page. Because technically, if they're arriving, if they're saying donate, they should be ready to donate, right? Well, here's the donation page. Original headline, treatment headline. The result, 11% more in donations. So wait, let me get this straight. You're telling me, John, that if I don't continue the conversation on my donation page, if I don't repeat some of the same things that I've said here, that some people are not going to donate? That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. You can't stop the conversation in your channels. You have to continue it all the way to your website. And that's not just donation pages. That includes website banners, pop-ups, all those different opportunities, blogs, articles, everything. Here's a mid-December match, okay? Remember, in the email, they already announced the match, but did they continue that conversation online? Did they continue it? Well, in version B, it didn't continue. It just stuck to the value proposition. But version A continued that aspect of the conversation. The result, and this was approaching validity, so it was not quite 95%. Of course, it's always hard to validate those tests, given the limited amount of traffic and time. 24% increase in donations, simply by continuing the conversation, okay? Right? Continuing to reemphasize certain things, okay? We need to make sure we do that. So here are your 4 things. Let's do a quick review, okay? First, they need to know you and trust you to some degree. And if you haven't really spent the time all year building up that trust or, stewarding, like letting them know how their donation is making an impact, you can start now. Start with a Thanksgiving email and think about some free offer emails, okay, or ways to demonstrate your value that's relevant to them where they can be like, oh man, this is awesome. Like they can immediately begin to appreciate you through ideas like that. And again, I have some great ideas for you. I'll show you where to get them. Okay. Second thing, you need to be top of mind. Okay. Just because that's the way we're wired. And sometimes that means stuff like sending more emails and sending when nobody else is sending, right? And starting when they start the season, right? You need to be aligned with them. All right. Sometimes people just need a reminder. I can't tell you how many donations we've seen captures just by simply reminding somebody. Why? They may have saw your original email. They're like, and they clearly weren't in a physical place to donate, right? But they were moved by it. And they're like, oh, they genuinely forgot. They're like, oh, I'm going to take care of it when I get home. But you send a reminder email, oh yeah, now they're in that place. That's one good reason. There's more to send more emails, okay? And I'm going to give you some ideas on how to do that. Last, you have to lead them all the way through to the donation. You are not done in the email. You are not done on whatever it is that you use to draw them to your website, even if it's your direct mail. You've got to continue the conversation all the way through to the very last field on your website, up to your donation page. Even on the submit button, you need to have that reminder right below the submit button, right? Here's the submit button. You need to be like, and your donation is going to do this, okay? Okay, security. People are really, really worried about security, okay? Especially in that last week of the year, all right? I'm going to show you where to find those case studies. You've got to continue the conversation. So John, Tim, the whole team, can you help me with this? Absolutely, we can help you with this. If you go to courses.nextafter.com right now, we've just released a new free online course, mini course on year-end fundraising for online fundraisers. So this is an online focused. We're not going to get really too much into direct mail or anything like that, but we're talking about the online, the digital fundraising, okay? And let me give you a little preview of what to expect. Session 2, I'm going to teach you how to write more emails. I'm going to give you a ton of ideas okay? And these are all fresh from the aggregate donor inbox. So in personally reviewing over 6,000 some emails, we pulled out some of the more interesting examples that you could mimic for yourself, that you could kind of get ideas from, all right? That way, if you're not sure on how to send more emails, you want to become more top of mind, you're going to have some great ideas there too. And if you're not sure on what to do on free offers, there's some great free offer examples in there as well, okay? Session 3, now once you've figured out all the extra emails that you can send, or maybe ideally how many you should be sending, I'm going to teach you through year-end only experiments how to best tweak them or present them so that they get the maximum chance, exposure, and engagement, okay? You know what really irritates me is when we work hard, okay, to get a message out there that genuinely deserves to be heard, but people just dismiss it because it doesn't look a certain way, or because we didn't write the subject line a certain way, or because we had too many images in the email and it just looked like every other retailer email, okay? Things like that. We're going to show you how to kind of, I guess, growth hack or hack your emails in such a way that people are more inclined to give them a chance, okay? And as I said, if they give it an honest chance and then they still don't donate, I'm okay with that, okay? That's up to us to do a better job. But sometimes people just don't donate because they don't even see it. Finally, once you figure out here are all the emails and here's how I tweak them, now how do I best support these appeals, either whether it's through email or any other channel that you're using, sending to your website, how do I best support those on my website, okay, on my blog, on my social media? Like, what are some of the main things I need to be doing to get the principles I need to be following to get the maximum follow through? Because for some odd reason, people, they experience that high before they actually give the money. That's just the way it works in our generosity world, right? And so we have to lead them all the way to the completed donation. One distraction gets in the way and we're not like compelling them and just drawing them in to make that completed donation, we're the losers, okay? So question, how many emails do you think an average most successful nonprofits send from Thanksgiving to the end of the year? And welcome back, Mr. Karaoke. You remember him from the Facebook online, Turning Online Facebook Likes to Donors course. And what do those emails cover? Well, in the next session, okay, in session 2, because you really kind of just watched session 1 of the online course. I just gave you my own personal version of it. Session 2, I blurted on purpose. This is not a glitch. You're going to actually see the timeline of what the emails are, how many and when, all the options that you have, kind of like a buffet, and we're going to show you how to prioritize that in session 2. So again, in session 2, I'm going to encourage you, go here, nextafter.com/year-end course. It'll take you straight to the registration page. You can kind of skip session 1 if you're with us because you just watched it. There's a little bit more detail there, but not too much. You can go straight into 2, all right? And you're going to get all kinds of ideas. I remember Nathan from our team, I think he used to work with a very large nonprofit organization. He's like, man, I wish I had this when I was planning these year-end campaigns. So I want to make sure you guys take advantage of it, use all of these resources. It's a mini course, but I think you're going to get a lot of value. We've really put our best into it. So with that, without further ado, I'd like to open it up now for some questions. Looking at the clock here, and we've got at least 15 minutes. So welcome back, Tim. What questions
John.
do you have?
Blazing, pal.
Blazing optimization.
I've got questions. So the first one's kind of a softball. You may have already answered it from Megan. She says, we really should have started planning back in June, so we're feeling a little bit behind. What can we do to catch up? What are some of the essential things we need to do to catch up? Can you answer that for them, John?
Here's what I would say. You know, I think the key to catching up on a relationship, because if you haven't been working on that relationship, the key is to start right away. I mean, you're going to be sending online donation asks. You're going to be sending those emails no matter what. But start thinking about ways in which you can kind of reawaken your donors or kind of build that relationship. So here's a couple good ideas that you're going to find in session 2. Survey emails, okay, where you say, donor, why do you give? Why do you support us? Why are you here? Let them tell you. They're engaging with you. They're thinking about you. They're kind of reawakening some of those things, and they're giving you their opinion. They feel special, okay? So that's one of those things that I would encourage you to do. A Thanksgiving email. Start thinking about a way, some kind of a free offer, some kind of maybe it's a free ebook, something that you could give them, or something you could send them. Think about non-donation ask ways that you can start sending now to start building that relationship up. And then check out session 2, and we'll give you a nice list of all the different main donation appeal emails that you can choose from. And at the end of session 2, we actually prioritize, like if you're not really sending much at all, where you should kind of start, and then how you should build on that as you go.
Great. Thank you, John. So some helpful tips there and kind of getting caught up and making the most with the time that we have available. This kind of transitions to the second question that comes from Samantha. She said, you're talking about sending 6+ emails. Now, do all of those have a donation ask included in them? Are they all offers that lead up to one big ask? I mean, what's the variance in the messaging and calls to action, John?
So what you're going to find is you're going to find a little bit of variety. If you send a lot of emails, let's just say you're sending 8, okay? You're sending 8 different emails. Maybe a couple of those might be strictly, I want to hear your opinion, or I just want to add value to your inbox today. I want you to know that I appreciate you. That is actually influencing your year-end campaign, and we've got a number of case studies that help demonstrate that. But then even the rest of them, they can all have donation asks. So here's the thing. We actually, one of our team members here, Kevin, our chief technology and fundraiser extraordinaire, he ran an experiment where it was, and you'll see this in the online course, where we were like, let's just send emails telling people to wait until the last day to give for a campaign. And then the other bit was, let's just ask them every time. Let's give them a chance to give and encourage them to give at the end of each email, right? And what was the result? The one that actually, the campaign that told them to wait experienced a significant decrease in giving. I think maybe people just flat out forgot on the last day or something. They were following the instructions. My point is that you're going to be asking in some way or form. It may not be as hard or direct of an ask like at the end of the year compared to the beginning of December, but you're going to be asking in some way, shape, or form. And if you check out session 2, we show you the whole variety of those asks. So that way you can kind of see what's going to work out for you. But I would definitely not encourage you to tell them to wait to give, okay?
Right.
If it feels right to make the ask right then and there, then make the ask. And if you're not sure if it feels right, take a look at some of the examples that we've got in session 2.
Great. Thanks, John. Here's a question from Julie. She says, how much does conversion rates differ when you are using kind of a more general value proposition versus a more specific service or impact point? And I know that we've talked a little bit about the different kinds of value proposition. There's our primary value proposition. There's our product level value proposition. There's our prospect level value proposition. And I know you talk about this a little bit when you get into the fortune cookie analogy. I mean, ideally, if we can segment our ask based on the different types of donors we have that goes to a very specific opportunity that's going to be most relevant to them, that would be ideal. But in most cases, we don't have that luxury. So John, do you want to kind of just give a little Cliff Note version of the fortune cookie?
Yeah, so when it comes to year end, when I ask all of our team members who've been running these, and actually Kevin sent me, he let me see real deep into a few examples, and you'll see that different emails have slightly different conversion rates. But one of the things that every single one of the team members emphasized to me is that you don't want to get really, really, really specific, too specific. Unless you can segment and make sure you match that audience motivation, you don't want to get too specific at your end. That's why Tim mentions the fortune cookie. Fortune cookie, think about it. Number one, there's a fortune, right? So there's some kind of a message, but the message is written in such a way where people can fit themselves in. So what we find, especially at that year-end time frame, that it's very kind of a reflective time of year, and it really fits well with the general, overall, arching value proposition. If you aren't careful, unless you're like a human rights organization and it's Human Rights Day in December or something, right? And you got that very specific opportunity, unless it's something like that, I would encourage you to take more of a fortune cookie approach, which is make sure your value proposition is inclusive. So You want to reawaken, okay? You want to realign, their interests, their values with yours. You want to get them on the same page. And unless you're segmenting, unless you're absolutely sure, if you're too specific, you might lose them. Now, this is also one of the benefits of doing multiple emails, because not every single person in your list is going to see every single email, okay? I think we found that for one particular organization, after sending 8 to 12, I think it was 12 different emails, 70 or 80% of the list saw at least one. So not even 100%. Like, you see what I mean? We didn't even get the full 100%. So I would encourage you, there's different angles and things that you want to approach, but you don't want to get too specific, okay? Think like a fortune cookie. Let them fit themselves in, okay? Let them align themselves to this particular time of year, unless you have like a very specific, like there's a day in December that's specific to your thing. If you're a food bank, that's kind of going to be maybe Christmas or something, okay? Then you want to capitalize on that individually in addition to everything else. So yeah, in terms of correlating conversion rates, I'm gonna have to defer that to the team. I did get to see firsthand some of the differences, but I haven't actually seen firsthand the correlation between too specific and general. But what I have seen some instances where too specific, irrelevant, would be less, right? Again, I would encourage you, take more of a fortune cookie approach.
All right, John. So this is from Sarah. She says, we've already used a match 4 times this year. And is that going to be too much if we do another match at year end?
If you don't forget the other 2 whys, I think you'll be okay. Because here's the thing about matches. I'm just talking about 2017 alone. 2017's year and season, matches are table stakes. 6,000, something, like, it's almost like you needed a match to play. So I would encourage you, I would say, don't worry. Like, if you have it available, use it, okay? But don't rely on it. Even if you've run it multiple times in the year, okay, this is another opportunity. It's kind of like how retailers, they have multiple sales throughout the year. Just because they have a President's Day, a Columbus Day, and all these different marketing holidays doesn't mean that they can't do a sale at the end of the year. People actually may be expecting that. What I'm saying is your donors may be expecting some sort of a match or special opportunity. So I don't think it's too much, but what I would say is don't rely on it. Make sure you can firmly answer the question, why should they care about your email? And why should they care about your organization or giving to you? And then use that match as that, oh, and by the way, we've got this really special thing. This really special opportunity. So no, I don't think it's too much. Definitely use it. Right. It's table stakes.
Well, and the reality is the match is an incentive. It's not the offer.
It's not
right?
the offer.
The offer is presented through your value proposition. Sometimes there's a temptation to conflate the offer with the incentive. But the incentive is that if you give today during this campaign, we're going to match your gift up to whatever %, right? But the offer is really the value proposition. That's the impact that you're making in the world. That's the difference you're making through your cause, through your organization. So focus really on helping people understand with absolute clarity the reasons why they should give to your organization first, and then use the match as kind of like the pot sweetener, if you will.
Yes.
So great.
Straight on.
Good question. Excellent question. Okay. Here's a question about Quentin says, so how do I communicate? Do you have any tips on how I can communicate the importance of doing the things that you talked about in today's webinar to my executive team to get them to buy in? I mean, that's one of the challenges. And that's where I would encourage you, Quentin, to take our research and use it. That's one of the primary reasons we open up our research library and open source it and say, look at what other XYZ organizations are doing. And why is it that we keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting to get different results? It's insane, right?
Yeah.
So use our entire body of research. And if there's something very specific that we can help you with, Quentin, shoot us an email and we'll try to dig that up so that you can be prepared for those conversations. But great conversation.
Yeah. Definitely use it. Use our resources.
Another question here from Anne. Are there other incentives that we can use besides a match to basically inspire people to give?
Yes, absolutely. So a match wasn't the only incentive that I've seen. Some people, they'll like ship a book, or they'll have some kind of a, when you give this much, we'll send this. I've seen things like calendars. I've seen Here's the thing about incentives, though. You're going to have to test them. It could be, seed. It could be, hey, somebody has agreed, a generous donor has agreed to cover all the overhead from this time so that we can guarantee without a shadow of doubt 100% of your donation is going straight to the cause. We've seen actually emphasizing that on the donation page with some kind of a seal has worked to increase giving, to increase generosity. So I would encourage you not just to rely and think about all the different things that you can give, but you definitely want to test it. Now, here's the thing that I've been told is that what you test for this year is going to be for next year. So, make sure, again, just if you've done any testing beforehand, that's great. But yeah, there are other things that you just want to make sure you test them, because I've seen some incentives not do nearly as well as others. So just be cautious, all right? But we've got a couple case studies even in the rest of the course that give you some ideas, some other incentives that folks use, okay? So
Right.
don't just rely on the match. Look at the one that we just from Science Magazine, right? Again, they had covering the overhead, seed money, challenges, there's a variety, okay? And don't forget your inward incentives too, like how many other people are giving and how are they, how close to the finish line are we? Stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, urgency, kind of bandwagon effect. There's a lot of psychological things that we can use, especially at year end, because we do have we have countdown clocks. The deadline is the inspiration for a lot of people. But also, one of the things I know we've tested, John, early in campaigns and even around Giving Tuesday, instead of asking people to give to us, we've taken the opposite approach and say, hey, I want to give something to you. We have this great new ebook that we've just created, or we've got this cool, video I want to send you, or we have this, this thing that's really, it's for you, right? So we kind of flip Giving Tuesday on its head and say, hey, I've got something for you. So there's all kinds of neat ways to play with that. Auburn has a question here. Is there an advantage or disadvantage to asking for reoccurring or sustainer gifts at year end? I don't know if we have any specific examples of tests we've run at year end with recurring, but we have had a couple of breakthrough tests recently after we published the recurring giving benchmark study in partnership with Salesforce. We ran a couple experiments, and one was very interesting. It was actually counterintuitive to a lot of the things we teach. So if you've been on these webinars, you know that friction, anything that causes people to slow down or, stop in their process of completing a transaction, can be a devastating thing to conversion. It could cause them to abandon the process. And we tested something that was pretty disruptive. As somebody was getting ready to hit the submit or donate now button, after they had already filled out their payment information, they selected their gift amount, we actually disrupted that process with a little pop-up that said, hey, before you hit submit, here's something for you to consider. What if you gave less today, but did it, on a recurring basis, as opposed to giving the amount that you're giving today? And we had a formula that reduced the amount of the ask so that was proportional to what they were giving. What was interesting is we saw, do you remember what the total percentage was, John? It was pretty significant. I want to think it was like 45%.
One of them was 60 some percent. Another channel was like 30 or 40%. So even in different channels, it was statistically significant.
Big increase in the number of recurring gifts by using that approach. And the most important thing is it did not negatively impact the number of one-time gifts we received. So people had a bailout option, say, no, never mind, I just want to give the one-time gift. They could just click that button and it would complete their transaction. So really, really cool thing. Check it out in our research library. Actually, we'll include it, Nathan. We can include that in the links that we send out of case studies, but certainly something for you to consider trying. I think we've got time for a couple more quick questions here, John. Let's see here. From Alyssa. She says, my marketing directors say to keep information short. Do you have any data about how long my copy should be? There's a softball for you, John.
Well, yeah, we've got a lot. In fact, if you haven't been to our email course yet, I would encourage you to go there. We've got a whole section dedicated to copy length, and I think we included a little snippet in session 3 of the mini course that we've just released to you today about copy length. In short, the longer the copy generally means the better attempt at answering that key why care question. And oftentimes what we find is that in terms of attracting the people that want to donate, you're better off answering that question in the email than trying to answer it on a landing page. Okay, and we've seen this not just all year round, but also with some year-end tests as well. So my encouragement would be to take a look at those tests, take a look at that data. Okay, so you check out session 3, okay, to get an idea, all right, of the link, but also go to our email course and go to the body copy section, okay, where we talk about the email body, and that's where you're going to find a lot of different case studies, kind of all put together for you that make the case for answering that value proposition question, why should I care about you, organization, in the email as opposed to on a landing page or somewhere else.
That's right. And Elsa, if you or Alyssa, if you really want to go deep on email, we actually are having an email optimization certification course coming up November 8th. That's going to be here in Dallas. If you want to join us for that, or if anyone else, you can go check that out. But I think we're actually out of time here. It's 2:01 Central Time. Thanks again for joining us today. We're very grateful that you were able to make time out of your busy schedules, and hopefully this information is helpful to you, and hopefully you can dig in a little bit more with the online course. So thanks, John. Great job, Blazing Powell, for
Blazing Powell. Yep.
all the great insights today, and we'll look forward to seeing you on a future broadcast.
Awesome.